Welcome to the 5th of March, 2024. My name is Jimmy Bradbury. I help entrepreneurially minded people who feel stuck in a 9-to-5 job, or maybe they're in a business that they own that feels like a job. I help them take their knowledge and experience on a topic they're passionate about. It could be a skill set, a hobby, profession, so that they can use that knowledge and experience to help other people and get paid doing it. So I was working with a client this morning in one of our coaching sessions. It was a one-on-one call, so high-figure client. And I was sharing with them the 6 metrics that I use in my online business that I want them to use in their online business too. It's really, really important if you want to be able to significantly grow your online business to have these metrics in place. Now, it always reminds me that in the 80s, if you can remember back, maybe you weren't even born then, but I remember in the 80s, there was a famous educator who was in the management consultancy space called Peter Drucker. He wrote some really good books. One of them was called In Search of Excellence, which I read many, many times. But he had 2 really important quotes that always stick out for me. And they are, you can't measure what it is you cannot actually put down on a piece of paper, meaning you can't manage it unless you can actually measure it. And I know a lot of people struggle with this concept of measurement. And metrics, I just cannot emphasize how important they are in your online business. They really are. So you can't manage what you can't measure. And the other one that he has was, you can't measure it. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. 2 really important quotes, always kind of there in the forefront of my mind when at the end of every week, I'm measuring the metrics of my business to see how it's actually performing. You can't manage what you can't measure, and you can't measure what you can't improve. So really, really important. So from that basis, I have 6 metrics that I use in my business. Number 1, and some of these you'll know already, and they, I hope, are metrics that you're putting in place in your business and you're tracking the data. Number 1, content. There's 2 parts to this. Number 1, if you're in the online space, you must be putting out one long form piece of content every week. A blog, a newsletter article, a video, or a podcast. That's a non-negotiable in the online space. And you might say, well, Jimmy, why should I do that? Well, the reason why you should do that is, number 1, is to be able to show your audience the depth of experience that you've got on your topic. Posts, which I'll talk about in a moment, give you that kind of veneer first level. But if you want to be able to demonstrate real expertise at a deeper level, you have to go long form. That's number 1. Number 2, it really tests you about consistency. And this is where most people struggle. They'll do a newsletter one week and then they'll forget about it for a few weeks. They'll do a video one week, then they'll forget about it and come back to it. And consistency is absolutely essential. So getting that depth of knowledge on the area of your expertise is fantastic with one long form piece of content. And with that expertise, doing it consistently, people begin to know you, they begin to like you, and they begin to trust you. So one long form piece of content every week, number 1. Number 2, putting out posts, I recommend daily on social media, 7 days a week, and doing that in the form of long copy posts, doing videos, doing reels, doing quote cards, whatever it might be. But the key thing here again is be consistent. If you decide to do 1 a day, do 1 a day, 7 days a week. If you decide to do 1 a week, do 1 a week and do it consistently. Whatever it is you decide in your short form content, do it consistently. That's number 2. So long form piece of content, short form piece of content. 2 metrics you must measure and you must do consistently. Number 3, you must be having direct conversations with the people who are in your audience. Super important. That is your pipeline of working your prospects to being leads, to being customers. That's that flow of the traffic. And the best way to do that is through direct messages, having real conversations with people that are in that ideal world or ideal customer space of yours, and taking them from prospects to leads to customers. I talked about the difference between the three in my business last week, so I'm not going to go back through that again, but prospects, leads, customers. So that's number 3. Number 4, leads. You must always be generating new leads every day in the online space. For me, my metric for leads is people who've joined my email list, subscribers. That's my metric. I measure that every single week. That's my 4th metric, leads. Number 5, making sure that, particularly if you're in the coaching world, not so much if you're in the online courses like me, leading with my online courses, but if you're in the coaching business or you're in the consulting business, then you must be having, there's various phrases for this, but I call them strategy calls. Some people call them discovery calls, whatever it is. You must be having those calls with your prospects. Now, for me, I have a qualification on that, is that the people that I like to have calls with are pre-qualified heavily before I get in and have a call with them. Now, that's the way I do it, because I suppose over 5 years I've learned that there's a lot of people who want to get on a call with you, but they've got no interest in what you do. And they'll make up all of these excuses why they're not going to work with you. I prefer, me personally, to get that up front and understand that's where they're coming from, and they then making a decision or not whether to have a call with them, rather than getting on a call, spending 30 or 45 minutes with them to find at the end of it, they're not interested, they never were, and you shouldn't have had that call with them, Jimmy. So that's just my view, but I have a whole metric around measuring discovery calls for my coaching program. Again, it's not a big part of my business now because I'm more focused on my online courses, but it's still a very important part of my business. So if you're in the coaching or in the consulting world, making sure you have a metric for your discovery calls or strategy calls, whatever you want to call them. And then the sixth metric is measuring, obvious one, your sales. Whether it's cash sales or revenue sales, you're actually got a metric to measure those at least on a weekly basis. Those are the 6 metrics that I use in my online business. Those are the 6 metrics I make sure that all of my clients have in their business when they're working with me. And they really are important because, as I said to you, Peter Drucker said, if you can't manage, then you can't measure. So, it's so important that we have those metrics and we have them in place. Really, really important. I know a lot of this is common sense, but it's not common practice. It is amazing how many people who are running their online businesses today, and they do not measure their metrics and they do not track the data for those metrics. It's unbelievable. And you can only take your business so far without measuring your metrics. And 1 or 2 things happen. Your business just flatlines out and doesn't grow. Or if it does grow, it kind of goes like this. If you want to really scale your online business, you need to have the metrics and you need to be tracking them on a regular basis. So hopefully that's been helpful for you today. I wanted to share that because I wanted to share my journey with you and what I do in my business, but also what I teach my clients as well. And metrics is such an important part of that. So hopefully that's been helpful for you today on this Tuesday, the 5th of March, 2024. Again, I'll put a link below here for the LinkedIn profile audit. If you're on LinkedIn and, well, you must be if you're watching this video, and you need to get your profile audited to make sure that the key things are in your profile so that it's optimized, this checklist will help you, and I'll put a link below here. Wherever you're in the world today, have a great day, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.